You are live from the Valley View in downtown Williamsburg, a live remote podcast. This is Mr. K. This is the One for the Road podcast. Joining me, as always, is C Squared. Today's topic, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame injustices and misses.
As you notice, I am the shining light of rock and roll.
Yes, the angel. Chris Angel. It wasn't Chris Angel, the magician, not Johnny Angel. A great song from the 50s. In this episode, we're going to talk about Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, people who should be in, people who shouldn't be in. Is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame becoming the Music Hall of Fame? Sure seems so lately. We'll also discuss our love of live music and some bands we've seen in bars or small venues. We're in one now. I think me and C Square can talk about it.
And what I will say is this is our first sponsored podcast.
Yeah.
So again, hats off to our friends at the Valley View Tavern in Williamsburg, Ohio.
Yes, it's a great bar, great place to see live music on Saturdays. I highly, highly recommend it. I am a long-time participant. C Squared is played here if you want to promote your gigs or past gigs.
Well, we've played here a number of times for a number of years. Great little place. Gets packed on a Friday or Saturday night. And I think one of the points I brought up to Mr. K is it's great to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but what really needs to happen and what is really great is to go out and support local entertainment, because lots of people are never going to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and are never going to make any more money than to cover their bar tab, but they do it from the love of music.
Yes.
And based on that, you should go out and support them and have a few drinks and have a good time.
Yes.
And support your local taverns too, because that's really where it all starts and sometimes where it all ends.
Right. I highly, highly recommend it. There is nothing better than seeing live music in a small venue like this one or others across the country, especially across Ohio. We're living in Ohio, me and C Squared. But there is nothing can top live music. And I've seen many, many great bands sing originals, sing covers, some phenomenal cover bands. And, your highly expensive concerts, they usually play the hits. They usually play the songs you know and you want to hear. So I just highly, highly recommend it. It's like the highlight of my month. I usually go once a month. It is the highlight of my month in attending a live gig.
And we always appreciate Mr. K coming out and having a good time, seeing people he knows, hanging out with your friends. So, I mean, that is great on a low cost option. We never charge a cover. The bars I play in never charge a cover. So the bottom line is it's either coming out of the till at the bar plus whatever people decide to throw in our handy dandy silver tip bucket.
Yeah.
That's what we play for, and that's really makes it about our people coming out and having a good time. And that's really what it's about. That's what music started as, is people coming out and having a good time, seeing their friends, having a lot of fun on a Friday or a Saturday night.
Yeah, it's a great community builder. I mean, when you see people loving the same songs you are, it spurs conversations and stuff like that. The other thing I love that some of Chris's bands do is throwing a request around your $5 bill.
Yeah.
Turning up half hour later, we play it.
Did one night here where it was all request. We played whatever the entire night. We played whatever was requested. Now we did
Nice.
pass out with menus, a menu of songs that we had played here before over the years, but we you could go off the menu and give us anything, and we did our best to make it happen. Did our best is the operative term. It might be
Yes.
the improv version, but we did what we could to please the crowd.
Yeah, I kind of like that because I remember one time I was seeing you play, and people were throwing in songs that you guys had it on your set list, and you guys probably you know it, but you never rehearsed it. And it's like, all right, let's give it a go. And a lot of times, you guys did a really good job because you're talented
Well,
musicians. And
reading the lyrics off your cell phone and taking a guess at what key that actually was written in and all the different parts can be a little bit tricky, but it's all in good fun, folks. So,
right, right, right. And I always think that you guys, if you throw in a song that you haven't rehearsed but you know it, and it's like fairly popular, and you probably know the lyrics because it's that popular. Those songs you guys do really good at adapting really quick and just like, oh yeah, we'll figure this out. Let's go.
yeah, well,
And those moments are really great to watch.
and we love me in particularly love to do medleys of songs. So maybe two people will request something, we think we can get it in the same key, and just play away, and one song will run right into the other song.
Right, right.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
what did you have on our Rock and Roll Hall of Fame list?
All right. So a recent survey came out, October 2024, somewhat recent. Fans voted for the most undeserving Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees.
Oh, that's a pretty long list in my personal
They came up with 10. I'm going to run them down. Chris has not seen this list. I have. So that's the way we like to do this a lot of times. And we'll just roll with it. The number, I'm going to go high to low. I'm not going to build up and say, I'm the number one inductee that fans hated the worst is. We're not going to do that. We're going to go right to 1 and go down to 10. Linda Ronstadt was voted the most undeserving.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. I'll let you go, Chris.
Well, so she had some good people in her band. As a matter of fact, I think
Glenn Fry comes to mind. Don Henley.
yeah. I don't in particularly think that her live performances were undeserving of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because there are a lot of trashy acts that somehow made it across the bar. She was not one of them. It
Right.
was her work. Was her work Beatles-esque, or earth-shattering Miles Davis? No.
No.
But the bottom line is she had a decent performing act, and they played out and did tours. So good for her, and she was
Right.
quite popular on
Right.
the radio for pop tunes at the time. So good for her. I could think, is she undeserving to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Maybe. Is she the worst on that list? Absolutely not.
Right. Absolutely not. I think she's well deserving. Some quick stats. She won 11 Grammys, 3 American Music Awards, an Emmy, and 2 Academy of Country Music Awards. So I think the knock the fans had on her is she's not rock. And you're going to see this theme of, in some of the top 10, they're not really rock, but man, Linda Ronstadt, the entire decade of the 70s, she was rock. She was really popular. She had hits. I mean, she's deserving. I think she's deserving to get in. The other thing too is when you tell the story of rock and roll, you got to mention Linda Ronstadt, especially the era of the '70s. I mean, she dominated.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, she had some great bandmates there
Right.
on the stage. What else you got there, Mister?
All right. The next one, number 2, the Doobie Brothers.
Oh, that's not nice.
I don't think it's nice
They
either.
are two different incarnations with extremely good players that created huge pop hits.
Right. So I don't get it. I know, like, beyond fans, the inductees took their sweet time in getting them in. They got in 2020. But again, I just think so. I've got a question here. Given the last 2 nominees and the fans who voted for this, I don't think these fans are that old. And I don't think these people like me and Chris were around in the 70s when these guys were at the height of their powers. So if you didn't grow up in the 70s and then you're listening to Ronstadt and the Doobie Brothers, you're probably like, and stuff like that. But they were hugely popular and original in the 70s.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in the beginning '70s when they were first coming out. It's like that was great stuff, very innovative. And
And the other thing too is, you'll see later on, and they're like, well, were they rock? Well, the Doobie Brothers were rock.
right.
I mean, they were this. I mean, the standard definition of rock. I mean, electric guitars, electric bass, keyboards, drummer.
Yep. Oh yeah. And I mean, through great concerts and great parties.
Right.
That is. I mean, talking about Linda Ronstadt, who had a solid band. The Doobie Brothers were super solid.
Yes.
Band. That is completely uncalled for.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. I'm sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I mean, the Doobie Brothers, musician-wise, are really good and deserving.
I would think so too. Who else is on this? Well, who they sent this survey to? Them people should be.
Well, you like this one, and it falls into this theme: Chicago.
Early Chicago. I cannot see how they should not be on that list. I loved early Chicago. After the guitar player died, the original guitar player died, it was changed. It was pop music, but the bottom line is they were still a unique horn-driven band.
Yes.
And their stuff in the beginning was incredible.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible.
So again, I think it's young people. They remember the syrupy ballads of the 80s and have no recollection of this band that was almost totally different in the 70s.
Yeah.
And to Chris's point, horns. Horns were in every song of theirs in the 70s.
Yeah. Heavy, great horn players, great guitar work, just absolutely fabulous stuff. If you haven't heard 25 or 624,
Oh man, yeah.
sing a iconic song from the early 70s.
So I think I told Chris this story, and I heard this. I think it was in the David Foster documentary. So here's what happened to Chicago. Chicago's rolling along. They're a good 70s group, making great music, making really, I would say, really unique music, especially with the horns. And they're doing good, but they hooked up with this super songwriter, David Foster, and he just glued himself to Peter Cetera and said, we're going to make money now. And the way we're going to make money is we're going to ditch the horns, and Peter Cetera is going to sing all these songs I write. And then comes, you know, bad habit to break and the sorry song there.
Yeah. Granted, after
Hard for me to say I'm sorry. It was the big one.
died, the band changed, and it was turned into some pop operation. But you can't deny what they originally started out as.
Yeah, so their big hit with that collaboration was Hard to Say I'm Sorry. Rocketed to #1, and then David Foster's like, I got more like those. Here they come.
Yeah.
And they got super rich. So I think that really hurt them with the fans, and that some fans only remember that era. But let me tell you, folks, in the 70s, they were really good
Yeah.
and quite unique.
Oh yeah.
#4 is Madonna.
Okay, I'll buy that.
So Madonna's not rock, and I think that's what kills her.
Yeah. And none of her material ever did anything for me. She was highly popular. That doesn't always mean anything. The bottom line is, I'm not sure what material that she ever did that would be considered innovative. And to your point, it's not even rock; it's just pop. So I'll buy that.
Yeah, so this goes into the conversation, and what we're starting to see is, I mean, let's run it down a little bit. Madonna, hugely popular, icon. I mean, if you think 80s, you can't really think of the 80s without Madonna. I would say the most dominant female act in the 80s. Hugely popular, lots of hits. But is this the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or is this the Music Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Because her music is not really rock and roll. It's pop.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm just doing some camera modifications here to get to keep my shining star out of
Right.
the podcast. Yeah, I can agree with that and see how that's a valid. What else you got there, Mr.
All right. This one I disagree with. I wonder your feelings. Ray Charles.
Oh, now that's hateful.
That's
Right
hateful.
there. That is hateful. What a classic player.
Yes.
That's iconic. Besides the fact the man's blind.
Right.
Good
Right.
Lord, Dad.
And a phenomenal piano player.
A phenomenal player, phenomenal bluesish type player. That is wrong right there.
Yeah.
That man is an icon. Man.
I don't get how he made out of all the people.
Anybody out of anybody on that list, including the Doobie Brothers in Chicago, who certainly deserve to be there. That is wrong because the
Right.
man is an iconic piece of multiple decades of music, 4 or 5 decades of
Right.
music, man. Soulful voice, a blind person
Yes.
playing like that. Are you
Right.
kidding me?
Right. I mean, he grew up in a really rough era too, when he was popular, and he still became popular. And then you start wondering, I mean, is there a Stevie Wonder without Ray Charles? I mean, he had to have been an inspiration.
Right, exactly.
And there's no,
Well,
I mean,
is there anybody like oh shucks. Now I'm trying.
Stevie Wonder isn't like,
Yeah.
we're not debating
right.
Stevie Wonder
Yeah,
beyond this
right.
list,
Exactly.
which is wild. I mean,
You look at that and say he's inspired so many many other players. Are you kidding me?
right.
That's just so wrong.
And just an unbelievable performer because, man, I saw him on TV all the time for 3 decades. And you couldn't tell the difference between 70s and 90s Ray.
Right. Yeah. Right. Always had that soulful.
Right.
Always, it's like you look at it, and I will tell you one thing. Who was? It's funny that you bring up Ray Charles. I'm going to tell you a Southern Ohio quick story. I used to go down on the west side of the Cincinnati area and see somebody named Boots Johnson. He was an organ player. Apparently, he had done some gigs and was friends with Ray Charles, lived in Dayton, Ohio. And the guy was also iconic. It was absolutely my privilege to see him. He was about 8 years old at the time. This is quite a while ago. But it was absolutely my privilege to see somebody like Boots Johnson. And he apparently had many chosen relationships with Ray Charles, who was also.
That's cool. That's a really good story.
Yeah, it was great stuff.
Wow.
Absolutely great stuff.
That
He
is
had a couple
awesome.
records out. You can find them out on the internet.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Johnson.
I've heard of him.
Fabulous Hammond B3 player. Incredible Hammond B3 player.
Good deal. Next on the list is Journey.
Another band that had transformational days, but the bottom line is all the albums with Raleigh were incredibly good.
Yes.
Were incredibly good. The first album, which is my personal opinion, they should have stayed the course with that type stuff. They did kind of convert to doing pop radio. They should have just been a jam band, to be honest with you. Their first album being their greatest of all albums, in my personal opinion. Talk about innovation. Him and Neil Sean coming off of playing with Santana.
Right.
And then just absolutely turning the corner into some of the greatest prog rock, probably the greater prog rock albums ever. Now, of course, they converted and eventually got Steve Perry and did, while Raleigh was still with the band, some great hits.
Yes.
Great hits.
Yes.
It's like, and then Raleigh left the band, and it was kind of the Chicago-esque story, which became, okay.
Right.
You go ahead, 5 or 6 really good records. So, having a hard time.
Yeah.
I still love that band. So, having a hard time seeing that is. Boy, people are really hateful on these 70s bands.
Yes. That's somewhat of a theme.
Did pop related stuff, but they're discounting their first 5 to 6 albums, which were phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
Look at, a lot of people would say, Boston or whatever. They never changed their sound.
Right.
And they only had 3 records.
Right.
The bottom line is, all these bands that we have named had 6 great records, 5 or 6 great records before they changed style.
Right.
Gosh, man, that's pretty harsh, man.
Right. I mean, Journey belongs. I'll tell you though, Journey, it took a long time for them to get in. They got in 2017, and I think it was because of the height of The Sopranos. So The Sopranos ends with the Don't Stop Believing, and they got a surge in popularity, and I think that helped them to get into the Hall of Fame. But voters alike were kind of dragging their feet trying to get Journey in, and in my mind, their popularity kind of died in '89. They're in 2017. That's a long time.
Yeah. Well, and people don't appreciate. You had the icon of music, Greg Raleigh, frontman, keyboard player for Santana, arguably the greatest act that played Woodstock. And, absolutely out of anybody that killed it at Woodstock, it was Raleigh and Santana.
Right.
Good Lord. Then went and started a prog rock band that eventually put out four good pop albums. Good Lord, give the man some respect, man.
Right.
Was
Right.
the
Exactly.
headliner of Woodstock. Not that if you don't know what Woodstock is, you should not be voting in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, Journey is rock and roll. I mean, there's no debate of that. So they definitely belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They are a rock and roll band. They have phenomenal musicians, and to your point, in the '70s, that lineup, musician-wise, was unbelievable. And yeah, it's like guys who played with Santana. Uh, the '80s hit, and I think like Chicago, let's do it for the money now. But still, there are some Neil Sean guitar solos in some of those songs that are
phenomenal.
freaking
I mean,
good.
the first iteration of the band with the drummer Ainsley Dunbar, who played with Frank
Right.
Zappa and a bunch of other people. Good God, this guy is a phenomenal drummer. Steve Smith was no slouch, but
Right.
Ainsley Dunbar was an iconic type of prog rock player. And
Right.
give some justice where justice is due.
So again, I think the fans are young. All they know is "Don't Stop Believing." They have no recollection or even presence that they were this pre-Steve Perry band in the '70s.
Right.
And even though they didn't have a lot of hits in the '70s, they were cranking out some really quality albums, and
Their
the
first
musicianship.
album is an iconic
Right.
piece of work. And didn't have any hits on it, but it was an iconic piece of work.
Yeah, musically, it's phenomenal.
Musically phenomenal.
All right, we'll move on to one we'll probably agree on. Neil Diamond.
Yeah, he also had some iconic hits of the time, and people loved him. It was never really rock and roll in any
Right.
way, shape, or form. And I mean, it was absolutely a pop Vegas type act. Not to diminish him at all. I mean, there were lots of people that loved Diamond. The bottom line is, I have a hard time putting that in a rock category.
Yes.
And I'm sure he was an iconic performer. So I do factor that stuff in. But again, it's not really rock. It's a backup. I kind of feel like people that have backup bands, this goes back to the Madonna scenario too. You have a backup band of hired players. That's not really the same as a legitimate band of people touring and producing music. That's my own personal.
Right. Right. So again, I think pop, yes. Rock, no.
Right.
Is this the Music Hall of Fame? He's in the Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I mean,
His music isn't rock. I mean, did we ever see Neil's shred?
right. Yeah.
I mean, did he play a mean bass line like McCartney?
Right,
I don't remember him behind the kit.
Exactly. Yeah, he was a singer, songwriter, and it was not even really in that rock vein. It was kind of pop music. And I look at this and say, people will dog me and say, well, what about Bob Seger? Bob Seger, first of all, was rock and roll.
That's rock and roll.
On occasion, Bob played guitar and piano.
Right.
Live. So the bottom line is that not the same scenario.
Right.
And his band and the Silver Bullet Band mostly had a lot of permanent members for a long time. So
Right.
it's not some fictitious band that didn't exist. These were a lot of quality players that he had playing with him that were in that band for multiple records.
Right. Yeah, just wrapping up on Neil Diamond. We know he was a songwriter, and he wrote a good deal of the Monkey songs. So Daydream Believer,
Right.
and some of those songs are more rock than anything he had in his solo career. But a really underrated, I would say, songwriter wrote a ton of really great. I mean, that's why the Monkees were so popular. Those songs he wrote for them were unbelievable and ended up being chart toppers. So that's at play. The other thing is, like, Neil Diamond near the end of his career, you're like, he's almost like the male Barbra Streisand, and Barbra Streisand isn't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I don't even think she's ever been nominated. I mean,
Right.
And she had pop songs. I mean, is that the next step we're at?
That's a great analogy. That's a great comparison, I think, because that is quite possibly the vein of music that he played in.
Right. Next is Stevie Nicks. Now it's Stevie Nicks solo. She's as a member of Fleetwood Mac. She's also in for her solo career.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Again, did she play any song, any instruments on any of her solo stuff? Thinking no, and I can't think of any of her solo stuff that comes to mind that is comparable to like the Rumors album or any other stuff that she would have been on with Fleetwood Mac. So yeah, I'm inclined to say I agree with that.
I agree with it.
Induct her twice.
Right, I agree with it. There's some people who deserve to be inducted twice. Paul McCartney.
Greg Rollins.
Right.
And Journey.
Right.
Both iconic bands.
Right. And there's some others, but the one that really stands out is Paul McCartney. Or the Beatles, solo career unbelievable. Stevie Nicks' solo career is not unbelievable. Now, what I remember about Stevie Nicks, she had one album that was good with 3 hit songs. She might have created some others afterwards and might have had 1 or 2 hits, but it's not a remarkable solo career.
Other than the duo with Tom Petty.
Right. Stop Dragging My Heart Around.
Yeah, right.
There's Leather and Lace. But they're all off that. Her first album was really good. Hooray.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Paul McCartney.
Right. Exactly.
Next is Buddy Guy.
Buddy Guy is I'd say Buddy Guy deserves to go in. More of a blues player, but the bottom line, certainly iconic.
Right.
Multi-decade iconic blues-ish rock player. Dude, how could you not say that? Do people not know who Buddy Guy is?
I think young people do not know who he is.
Really? That's a sad story.
That's sad. Yeah, I think young people don't know who he is. That's why he's on this list. Devil's Advocate a little bit. Didn't have a lot of what we would call hits, and I think that's been factoring in. But anyways, he's in, and I think he's in because he's a phenomenal musician, and that should be the criteria.
Yeah, right. I agree.
Last is ABBA.
ABBA
is in ABBA, ABBA, the famous 70s pop group from Sweden.
Yeah. How many hits did they?
Oh my God, they had a lot of hits, a lot of chart toppers in the 70s. They wrote their own songs. they're really good. I do like them. I think it's another your music, not rock.
Right, exactly. And I can appreciate some of the stuff that they did because I do like some non-rock music to roller skate to when I
Right.
take son number three out to roller skate. And the bottom line is that definitely fits that category. But I end up saying a hard time. Led Zeppelin, it ain't.
Right. Right.
Ew, it ain't, man. This is not core rock and roll. So
Yeah, I think they're immensely talented. Dudes, uh, the dudes in the group, Bjorn and I can't remember the other one, wrote all the songs, and they're really good songs. The one guy was a really good pianist, and a lot of those songs are pretty keyboard heavy. So great songs, great songwriter, but I I think they're more music hall, definitely in the music hall of fame. I never thought of them as rock and roll.
right, I never.
Fringe rock and roll. I mean, the female singers are really good and
If
unbelievable.
if anything, if you were categorizing it anything other than pop music, you'd be calling it disco. And
Right, right.
at the time, so
But hugely popular, dominant in the 70s, like I said. Great pop group.
yeah,
I got a short list of, but I can hang off you. I've got a list of people that weren't in that top 10 that I wanted to mention that are in. I can,
yeah.
I
Just
haven't,
run through that quick, John. And,
so I only got about three of these. Del Shannon is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
yeah, almost before my time.
Right,
And so that's right. I can now sympathize with people who don't know who Buddy Guy is.
right.
Because the bottom line is Del Shannon, what is the Shindels or whatever? Is that now? But the question is, I can't think of anything
Right.
as material that comes to mind. So that says something because I do listen to a lot of different music.
Yeah, so this brings me up to a point that I was thinking of. So what I read was a lot of music writers and former musicians are usually the people voting who gets into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So that's one. The other thing I was like is like I think you got to do a 5-song test, which is name me 5 songs from this artist and sing me a few words from those 5 songs.
Right, right.
You can't do that with Del Shannon.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got one.
Yeah, right.
Runaway.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you gotta have 5 songs that people know.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that should be the baseline. Then you could probably go, all right,
Yeah, and when I start talking about bands that do 6 albums,
right,
6 killer albums,
right.
and then they kind of fall apart. Good God, that's 60 to 70 songs, man, on 6 albums.
Yeah, yeah,
So if you've had hits off of all those albums,
right.
you've written 60 or 70 good songs.
Yes.
Good luck. That
Yes.
ain't that easy, man.
Yes. No. I got Joan Jett is in and the Runaways aren't. What the heck?
Again, having a hard time seeing that, man. Not sure who she do to get in, but not exactly 6 albums worth of killer material. I can tell you that.
One. Again, it's like the Stevie Nicks syndrome. It's
Yeah.
like you had one album. I mean, you are rock. I'll give you that. And the Runaways are rock. But I mean, the Runaways are phenomenal. And I like Joan Jett. She's very talented. That album, her first album, was very good and #1 hit. And I love rock and roll. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
But I mean, get into the strength of that one good song.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, the other one that's come up recently is Dolly Parton.
Who was that?
Dolly Parton is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Now, she is absolutely a country music icon.
Right.
What's she doing in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
All right. So, Dolly Parton, love her, country legend and goddess, but it's country. I mean, the Music Hall of Fame has Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
I don't think the rock and roll, it wasn't even her genre.
Right.
And again, the few times she ventured into that a little bit, it was pop. It wasn't rock.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
The last one I got on here is Laura Nyro is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yeah. Name me a Laura Nyro song. Name me 5 Laura Nyro songs where you can sing some verses out.
Yeah, right, exactly. I can't even come up with one. So that's a valid point, John. Well, I think we pretty well covered it.
Yes.
Want to wind it down there, Mr.?
Yes, let's wind it down. You can reach us at email at onefortheroadpodcast@gmail.com. Our soon-to-be constructed website is onefortheroad.net. The audio versions are on RSS.com, Spotify, and the other Podbean. Jeez, and Podbean. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube for C Squared. I'm Mr. K. Have a good week.
Thanks for tuning in, folks, to our live edition. Have yourself a good one.
Take care, everybody.